Hi, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda, and this is the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast.
This podcast is all about taking action and creating that badass business abundance and life that you want.
Where we share stories, laughs, wins, and epic fails to show you the whole picture of the entrepreneurial journey.
It's not just unicorns and rainbows, people.
Jump on and follow us through this raw and witty roller coaster,
where we get down and dirty and go behind the scenes of life and entrepreneurship.
Get on it,
get over it,
and get after it.
Hey, I'm Lynn.
And I'm Amanda. Welcome to the Pursuit of Badasserie, the podcast. We're back again, and we're talking about word of mouth marketing. Now, we could talk forever on this topic, as I'm sure we could talk forever about all topics. But I just want to start this one by saying, if you think that you don't need to do any work in your word of mouth because all your referrals, all your business comes from word of mouth, you are leaving money on the table. I'm just going to start our conversation right there.
Yes. Word of mouth, AKA referrals. But we definitely want to take more of the word of mouth kind of approach, because referrals, you can definitely get more strategic. And I know we have a podcast and we'll be doing more about that to get a bit deeper, but I don't know why I'm so giddy about this particular, I'm just like, all the thoughts that are going through my mind is a bit sassy. This one, we'll keep it PG-ish.
This is our audience. We'll keep it as we go. We're a badass audience. We'll do what we do.
So let's talk about some ways to amplify your word of mouth marketing, which absolutely Amanda nailed it. I used to, for those of you who don't know, I was CEO of a global company, and and I owned the franchise for several years prior, but our whole kind of premise and our core products were based around referral marketing, word of mouth, networking, and things of that nature. And I remember when I stepped into the CEO role, and I was polling all of our franchisees globally, and a few of them would be like, I don't do sales. I only do referrals, and I only do XYZ. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not building like the true essence of the referral marketing. Like, you're just kind of going through the movements, and you're not building the whole picture. And so you 100% are leaving money on the table. And the other aspect too, if you're not leaning into the referral marketing or the word of mouth, you are making your sales cycle longer and harder, because the more that people have the right words about you in their mouth and talking about it, the more that others are building your know, like, trust for you, which helps leverage your ability to be able to close in a more concise, a quicker way, and typically in a higher ROI or a higher investment point and longer term.
Absolutely. The major benefit of word of mouth marketing is that they are doing most of the selling for you. And so when people say, I don't have to do any selling because I have word of mouth, that's the benefit of word of mouth, is that you don't have to sell because other people are selling for you. And one of the things that you're doing in a word of mouth marketing campaign, if you'll call it that, is you're leveraging social proof. You are getting other people to talk about you and do some of that selling. So you're encouraging customers to showcase their testimonials. You're showing your reviews. You're having other people prove, social proof, that you are what you say you are. You are the best of the business, whatever that looks like. You're building case studies and highlighting customers and that kind of thing. Or you're using more direct referrals. Again, we're not going to get super into that. However, we'll touch on it because you can't really talk about word of mouth without discussing it a little bit. But it's how you get people to talk about you in that right way. It's not just wanting people to talk about you. It's how do you get them to talk about you? How do you get them to give you social proof? It's an art, really. It's an art and a science within your business, and it's worth actually looking into. So is this giving exceptional customer service? Is this personalizing a lot of your strategies? We are both huge advocates towards personalizing the experience, personalizing the strategy, personalizing the client journey in order to increase that word of mouth marketing. going the extra mile for your customers. So there's a lot of things that really contribute to that customer experience that can lead to more active word of mouth. Honestly, one of the best ways is just to flat out ask people for that word of mouth, ask them for their testimonials, ask them to refer you, ask them, because a lot of people, I think, are leaving money on the table because they're afraid to ask for it. It always blows me away when people are afraid to ask for testimonials. Like, oh, I don't want to inconvenience people. I don't want to get the wrong idea. Like, no, let them get the wrong idea. At least then you'll have something to say about it. Ask. I mean, the answer is always going to be no if you don't ask. So all that social proof comes from creating not only the environment that people want to talk about, but also asking for them to talk about it. It's a little proactive. It's not just reactive.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting because I would say one of the differentiating factors between word of mouth, there's a couple, word of mouth and actual, like a referral, a true referral machine and process is referrals are a lot more strategic, but word of mouth can be as well. Word of mouth is know, like, trust. It's really amplifying that know, like, trust, where referrals is make that introduction. It's a slightly different level, but having that word of mouth aspect absolutely can give you a return on investment without like that super rigid referral program, which is a game changer for businesses, but that's a whole other topic. I love that you talked about leveraging social proof. It's interesting with word of mouth. Listen, you are in people's mouths typically. Now, if you're being strategic about it and you're actually building it in the proper way, especially in business, is it, you amplify that word of mouth effect. The thing here though is that you need to be good business. You need to be a good person in order to be able to amplify that word of mouth. Like, are you being consistent? Are you adding value? Are you actually active in the community and, having that integrity, if you would? Are you hanging out with the right people, because you are the company that you keep? And so the word of mouth effect, think of it as a telephone game. That word of mouth effect absolutely can help or hinder your referrals or your return on your movement in that. So when you're leveraging social proof, or others are leveraging social proof on your behalf, is it in the light that you need it to be in order to keep pointing people in the right direction, to be able to close business and gain clients from that? So some ways that you can help curate this is asking for testimonials and highlighting testimonials or reviews. This is a more, I would say, active, proactive approach of amplifying that word of mouth, because it's in written form or video form. And it's, for lack of better terminology, almost controlled in some aspect, or like you actually have it. It's like a physical thing versus like where people are just talking about you here, there, and everywhere, right? So you're able to leverage that differently across different platforms. And I would say that why I mean that you have more control is because then you can take that and actually apply it and use it versus just somebody talking about you.
Yes. And talking about that, leveraging across multiple channels, I want to point out that part of the strength in that is, and I know you have more to say on it, but the part of the strength in it is building that really strong brand identity. Because if you're reaching out to multiple channels, building that brand is going to be what people are talking about. If you don't have a direct personal relationship, the brand is what's going to be the word of mouth. It's, have you heard of this brand? Have you heard of this thing? They do this, even if the brand isn't necessarily a positive one. Like, not everybody's brand is sunshines and rainbows. Sometimes it's a luxury brand. Sometimes, I mean, my brand tends to go more towards like the rebel archetype. So if you don't know your brand archetype, this is a great time to look back on our podcast episode about brand archetypes, because that will also help sculpt some of that brand identity and feed into how your word of mouth marketing progresses through all channels.
Yeah, 100%. The other aspect that I'm going to take of this is more of word of mouth is about building community, in a passive and proactive way. And so the more people that are using word of mouth on your behalf, so they're using their voice to amplify who you are or your brand, and to talk about you, the more that people will feel like you're part of the community. But you have a responsibility then to absolutely be authentic and consistent in that voice, in that word of mouth that they're sharing. But when you're creating a community, it's even through the essence of word of mouth, what you're doing is you're telling your potential prospects and also your current customers that there's a belonging sense, that there's there's not too much separation between you and them, that you're accessible, right? That you're accessible. And this is on or offline. It's about showing people that who you are and how you show up. And so that community aspect is important for all behavioral styles, but especially certain behavioral styles. But even more so, if you are not being spoken about, if you're not being seen and heard, then you're easily forgotten. Like, you're easily forgotten. And
out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind. And so what that word of mouth does is keep you in the forefront of people's minds and in that sight. But then again, like, if you're showing up, if somebody's saying how selfless you are and that you're always doing this service and doing that service outside of your business, because word of mouth is actually it's not even just about like them promoting your business. It's about them promoting, like Amanda said, the brand, the core competencies and the values, the brand values, even if that brand is you. And so if you're an easier one is that your company is super sustainable and you do everything sustainable, but yet they see you, throwing out like all of these, buying things that are fast fashion and throwing out all of these things and not recycling, then it's a conflict. Right. But if they see you at the recycling center and like donating your time or volunteering your time that day, it's going to enhance that word of mouth. Right. So there's a bit of like almost cause and effect with you being involved in the community and showing up in the way that the word of mouth is going in your brand voice that will absolutely amplify the word of mouth, but also your brand.
Absolutely, because it is about creating community, but it's also about engaging in communities, particularly your direct community. It's participating in local events and sponsorships to increase your visibility. It's collaborating with complementary businesses or cross-promoting with businesses. It's engaging, and you mentioned this about charitable activities, that things that really align with your brand's mission and core values that can really push you ahead and keep you that front of mind, that visibility that you need in order to really have solid word of mouth marketing across any platform, across just being in the real world. It doesn't always have to be a social media aspect. Sometimes just being in the real world, getting out in the community, seeing them, making yourself visible, not only as part of the community, but as an authority within that part of the community, can make your business go leaps and bounds when it comes to word of mouth referrals. It's and referral marketing across all of it. So it's unbelievable how that trickles down just in the engagement within your community.
100%. I know we're keeping this one a bit concise this time. So a couple of last points would be like, know how people are speaking about you. So first of all, you want to be showing up and being authentic and do what you say and say what you do, what you mean, all of that good stuff, right? But ask the community to give you feedback. Ask the people who are your mouthpieces there, who are constantly keeping you at front of mind. Ask them, like, what's the pulse on kind of like my presence? Don't be afraid to ask. That way you can make adjustments. Do you feel I'm in alignment with my values? Do you feel I'm in alignment with what's being said? You also can do some analysis of like the type of clients that you're getting and different things like that. But you want to kind of get a pulse on like what's being said about you and how to engage with that. And we didn't even go down the rabbit hole of the bad word of mouth that can happen. But, there's advantages of that as well. Like being in somebody's mouth, depending on your brand and your business, like that can add value. It's how you spin it. So what's being said about you and how you optimize that is really important. But first you need to understand what's being said about you. So that's one place that we would suggest to start is like, get in the know. What are people saying about you? And do you feel aligned with it? Are people even talking about you? So start asking questions in the community to find that out. Ask the people that are quote unquote your mouth people.
And if you're not really sure where to start on that, I always believe one of the easiest ways to start is with reviews and ratings. If you see that you have satisfied customers, follow up with them, see why, find out what it is about them, about your service or your product that really resonated. Or if it's not a positive feedback, if it's a negative review, think about it constructively. Like, what can you learn from that? How can you increase your services, or how can you change the narrative and spin it so that it's talking to your ideal people? Because you get negative reviews for all sorts of reasons, but you get to control the narrative on that as long as you are aware of what's going on in your business. So this is a great way to just get your foot into that idea of word of mouth marketing, because reviews and ratings is an easy way to see what people are saying about you and your products and services. So it's a great place to start if you're not sure where to start in the word of mouth world.
Yeah. I'm laughing because I love that. And yes, that is an absolute way. I will say that it can be a passive way where I'm like, ask the audience, call up people and have that conversation, which can be difficult for individuals. And I by no means, I 100% agree with Amanda here, but I was snickering to myself because I was like, yeah, just be bold, like ask. Another thing that I remember doing, actually, I've been reflective, and Amanda and I might be doing it soon, is like polling your social media audience and say, ask them like 3 questions about you. What's the first word you think of when you think about me? What's the, what's the first phrase that you think of when you think about my business? How do you feel I'm showing up in the community? Right. So asking like 1 to 3 questions, and people like to engage. Right. And so that's going to give you some other feedback as well. But having those conversations, that way you can absolutely make the adjustments that are needed. Also just, the other place to start is like showing up. You said it earlier. It's not just about, being in the community, but it's about engaging in the community, showing up. You're going to see how people interact with you and engage with you based on if you're there. Like if you're not there, then people don't know you're available, right? They think, again, out of sight, out of mind, but also it creates an illusion that you're just not available to take clients, that you're too busy, that you're too this. And so actually engaging in a online, in a more of a communicative way, but also in a presence way, like actually showing up.
We could talk all day about this. We have entire trainings that we do on referral marketing, on word of mouth marketing, on all the things. But really what it comes down to is you got to show up, you got to stay present in mind. You've got to be proactive in how you're reaching out to people. And don't be afraid to speak up for your business and to talk about yourself. I know that seems, a lot of people have a hard time talking about themselves in their business world, but you got to talk about your business to have a business. So even better if you can get other people to talk about you.
Yeah.
Even better if you can get them to talk about you.
2 things came up. One is the last point that you just made is also you should be excited about your business. If you're not excited about how you expect other people to be, and how do you expect them to promote? But one other thing that we didn't go over that I think we slightly touched on it is make sure that you're thanking and nurturing those that are your mouthpieces out there, and that you are seeing and hearing them and appreciating them, because that goes a long way. A long way. And that can be in so many different ways. And we're not going to go in that rabbit hole, but make sure that you're acknowledging them and you're giving them shout outs or doing the same for them, which again, word of mouth marketing or word of mouth marketing is a more passive kind of trust building and can result in it. And you don't always know when people are doing it for you. But for those that you do know, or even giving generic shout outs on your social media, in your email sequences to say, listen, I know a lot of you have my name in your mouth and I'm okay with that, right? So like make that about them, but definitely make sure that you are thanking, nurturing them in return and making sure that they're feeling seen and heard in some capacity, that you have the ability to do so.
100%. So thank you. We'll just go ahead and say a thank you to all of you for talking us up, for leaving reviews for us, for
sharing our podcast,
for sharing our podcast. I mean, on that note, might as well shout out to all of you. If you have more questions on how to build up your word of mouth marketing, reach out to us. We want to help you do it. We talk about this all the time, and we can certainly give you some resources and some things to think about. So make sure you're reaching out.
Absolutely. Till next time.
Get after it.
All right, everyone, it's not enough to just listen.
Now you've got to put it into action.
We are so excited to see what you do next.
If you enjoyed our show, please leave us a review on iTunes.
And to find out more about what we're doing, visit us at thepursuitofbadasserie.com.